What I didn't see was what young people were like in their natural environment and how powerful they are and what they're truly capable of doing. Throw out homework, worksheets, ominous buildings, hall passes, herds of students, grades, all of it. What would you build? If you start with the amazing thing that is a young person, how would you honor all of their strengths and abilities? How would you remember that this is about them? If Dewey was right, and education is not preparation for life, education is life itself, we need to do more than rebuild schooling. We need to rethink living. Welcome to the Education is Life podcast, where we are having honest discussions on the state of education, where it is, where it can be, and all of the stories in between. So one of the questions I get a lot is why Greenfields Academy? Why the name? And it's really a twofold piece. One is, if you're going to start school over again, if you're going to start it from scratch, as in a greenfield, what kind of school would you build? And that was really the approach that we took. If you were going to throw out all of the old ways of doing it, everything that we thought that we knew, and redeveloped, I hesitate to even call it education, right? Let's call it development. Let's call it living, right? So what's the right way for young people to live that's going to best have them prepared to thrive in adulthood? Is what we're focusing on, and doing that from a green field. And so that's where the name came from. But it also means, it's like, the way it's presented to students is, your life is a green field. You are the protagonist in your story. What are you going to do about it? Education isn't something that's happening to you. This is about you and for you. This is one of the greatest opportunities you're going to have in your life, is to be able to take this and ride it and make it into what you want it to be, so that you can be you, rather than being some differentiated version of vanilla. You can be whatever you want to be. And if you want to be vanilla, you'll just be the best vanilla you can be, not some version that somebody else told you to be. So a world-renowned educator who started working in school models like ours, the only way he can relate his experience is by an analogy to tigers, right? If he says, by all accounts, I was a world expert on tigers. I knew everything about them. I knew how they grew, how they aged, what they needed to eat, what exercise they needed, how to keep them healthy, what their familiar relationships were. I knew everything about tigers. And then someone pointed out that they're in a cage. And so let them out of the cage, and watching them in their natural habitat, I realized I knew nothing about tigers. And I feel that same way about young people, that as a quote unquote, renowned expert in education, I knew everything about what young people needed and how we could educate them to make sure that they got that. What I didn't see was what young people were like in their natural environment and how powerful they are and what they're truly capable of doing. I only saw them in cages. So if you like what you're hearing, or you don't, and you want to come on and talk about it, go ahead and visit greenfieldsacademy.com and let us know that you want to be on the podcast and you want your opinion to be heard. I'd love to hear from you. And so these are the types of things that we'll talk to students about. And so we came up with I talked to them for about an hour about this recently. And it was like, okay, what's life in the cage like? What are the pros and cons of living in a cage? Well, you get some good meals. No one's going to attack you. You don't have to make any big decisions for yourself. It's a relatively easy life. Okay, what are the cons of the cage? Well, the opposite, right? You get to eat the same thing every day. You don't get to make any decisions for yourself, and you don't get to see what you are really like. And so then we talked about the wild, right? So what's life like in the wild? Is Greenfields really the wild, or is it something different? And they came up with that Greenfields isn't the wild, but it is there to simulate the wild in a safe place for us, so that we are developing the skills that when we do move out into the wild, we are prepared and ready to thrive, versus if we had been put in cages and then put out into the wild and not be able to take care of ourselves at all. That really resonated with them, and that what is the purpose of your experience at a school like this? It is to find my inner tiger, to find out who I am and what matters to me, and to develop the skills that's going to help me be the best me rather than be the best caged everybody. And they love that. And to see what it means to them and how they incorporate it into their daily lives, it's amazing. I'm reminded of that story often, where when I see our students out there and just being them, how magnificent it is. And it's like watching just the beauty of humanity happening in such a natural way, rather than being stuck in something so unnatural as what traditional schooling's become. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed what you heard, please subscribe and tune in next time for a fresh new episode of Education is Life.